Well, top Republicans and Democrats will be working this weekend to try to find an agreement on this deficit reduction deal. Discussions on Thursday included proposals to cut spending for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Lawmakers face an August 2nd deadline to raise the government's debt ceiling or face possible defaults.
And Congressman Brian Bilbray was in San Diego on Monday celebrating the 4th of July. Today, he's back in the nation's capital, joining us this morning with more on the debt ceiling negotiations. Good morning to you.
There's the picture. First of all, Congressman, love the shirt, the flag shirt.
I'll give it to my wife. She picked it up at a gun show.
That's great.
So much for marrying a girl from Louisiana. But no, it's getting hot back here in more ways than one. It looks like I'm going to get stuck with being back here in Washington rather than coming home to San Diego.
Okay, so there's going to have to be some compromises by the Republicans at some point. What do you think that the give and take is going to show us before this is all over, Congressman?
Well, I think we can try to find things like the ethanol subsidy that, a lot of us have been fighting for a long time. It, was claimed to be an environmental option and was pushed, and it's been a fiasco. I think there's a lot of those kind of things we need to go after. But we also need to look at the fact that there's, almost $2 trillion of American money overseas that could be brought back in if we just said, okay, instead of 35%, you bring it back, we'll give you 5%, or if you invested in jobs. But the biggest issue right now is how do we grow ourselves out of this? And, sadly, nobody's really talking about cuts. We're just talking about reducing the increases. And we made it work in the 90s, but the difference between now and the 90s is we were doing it because we wanted to in the 90s. Now we've got to do it. We're really up against some hard numbers. 40% of 40 cents on every dollar we spend this year is borrowed, is money that we're borrowing from the Chinese and stealing from our grandchildren. So this is really coming down to a tough point that we're the tough decisions, and we got to no smoke and mirrors. We got to show the American people we're actually doing getting this thing under control.
And Brian, we're looking at a live image of the debt clock just ticking away. I mean, these numbers are so big. It's kind of even difficult to comprehend what this means for everybody sitting at home here in San Diego. The number is going so fast. What does it mean for people at home?
Well, I think it means one thing is that the numbers that just came out today was that job unemployment went up. We had 1/10 the increase of jobs. And the reason why I think is no matter what we think in Washington or the people in Wall Street think, almost 80% of the American small business believe we're still in a recession. They're the people that are going to hire people. They're the people that create jobs. 70% of small business have no plans of hiring anybody in the next 12 months because they're looking at the fact that they think that Washington's going to come down, tax them again, and that the economy is going to tank because Washington hasn't got its act together. You realize that today is the 800th day since the Senate passed a bill, a budget bill. I mean, it's been 800 days since the Senate's even addressed the budget issue. And so this is the kind of sidestepping that the community, and especially small business, who's going to create the jobs and the economic recovery, just looks at Washington and says, look, maybe you guys ought to stay in Washington and roast in the July heat until you get the job done.
Social Security is on the negotiating table. There's a lot of scared-to-death people out there about that. What's going to happen with Social Security?
What's going to happen is that the scaremongers are going to get blown out on this. Look, nobody is talking about taking any benefits away from seniors. We're talking about maintaining the contract with everybody who's over 55 will have the Social Security we've always been promised all along. What we're talking about is with the younger generation, basically creating a system that is sustainable so that the young kids have something they can look forward to, and that's something that makes like Medicare look more like a congressional health care plan that is sustainable. So I think the biggest frustration where people are going to get really, really furious is that the proposals that are out there that is mainstream, like Paul Ryan's, is the most moderate proposal, guaranteeing seniors everything that they've been promised in the last decades, and to showing the younger generation we have a sustainable system that will be able to be around whenever you show up. And that kind of proposal is not something that should scare anybody. What should scare us is that everybody across the board says that if we do nothing at all, the system's going to crash. And I think those of us who are seniors ought to look at the fact that the greatest threat is that the younger generation doesn't believe there's anything in it for them, and we've got to show them that yes, there is. We have a way of maintaining and saving the system so that there's something for them to look forward to, and continue to pay so they'll pay for our Social Security that we're getting now.
Sure. Brian, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor said yesterday, I think there will be a spirit of trying to get results here. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the issue is just the old games are not going to play anymore. We've got to have something that will really stand the test of not only time, but of the magnifying glass. The American people really are very cynical for good reason. Congress has not, and Washington has not earned the right to be trusted. We've broken so many promises that the American people are going to look at whatever we propose, and they're not going to fall for the old smoke and mirrors, the budget runarounds, and all the games that have been played before, the double counting. American people are going to look at us very cynical and going to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. You're not the days of saying, don't worry about it, you'll know what's in it after we pass it, are over with. I mean, we've proven that in the last election. They'll throw the Republicans out when we play games. They threw the Democrats out when they play games. I think both sides better darn well wake up to the fact that the game days are over with. We've got to shoot straight, and this proposal better be defensible, because the American people are not going to be sold the same, the same smoke and mirror games that we've gotten away with in the past.
August 2nd is going to get here in a hurry.
Absolutely, and hopefully August 2nd will let us all finally get out of this cooking hellhole back here and come home.